The movie starts with the teenager named Reese in a small room filled with phones on the walls. Suddenly, a phone with a sticky note rang. Reese answers it and hears a recorded message congratulating her on a royal flush. Other phones in the room start ringing with the same message. Suddenly, water begins pouring out of the phones, filling the room. Reese looks up and sees a toilet on the ceiling. She realizes she needs to flush it, so she climbs the wall using the phones for support. However, she can't find the toilet handle. Fearing she'll drown, Reese calms down, reads the number on the sticky note, and dials it on one of the phones. This reveals a hidden compartment with a missing toilet handle. Reese hurries back up, attaches the handle to the toilet, and flushes it. This drains the water from the room, saving her life. However, just a few moments later, it turns out that the entire experience was merely a virtual reality game. Reese removes her VR headset, revealing that she's actually in an esports center surrounded by other VR and professional gamers. Later, when she returns home, she shares dinner with her single father, Reese. It's evident that the two share a close bond, especially since Reese lost her mother at a very young age. Out of nowhere, the room's lights begin to flicker and then short-circuit. This is followed by a montage of various electrical devices throughout the city suffering the same fate. Strangely, everything powered by electricity seems to be breaking down. Reese, however, doesn't think much of it and assumes it's just a routine power outage in the city. But Reese can't get a signal and loses contact with the outside world. Unfortunately, due to the ongoing electrical issues, Reese's computer setup catches fire. She manages to extinguish the flames but can't salvage her computer. Later, in the living room, Reese lights a lantern and suggests that this blackout might be a much-needed break for Reese to disconnect from her electronic devices. The two then browse through old photos on their iPad, reminiscing about the times when Reese's mom was alive. Eventually, they drift off to sleep on the couch. In the middle of the night, Reese hears an unusual noise emanating from their warehouse and decides to investigate. Without disturbing her sleeping father, she carefully takes a lantern and ventures into the warehouse. There, she stumbles upon a book titled Radio Flash, which is another term for electromagnetic pulse, or EMP. As Reese explores further, she discovers that the warehouse belonged to her grandfather, Frank, who moved to the mountains a few years ago. After some time, Reese uncovers a hidden cloth covering a table, revealing a disassembled radio station underneath. Hoping to find answers, she adeptly assembles the components and successfully connects the radio. She turns it on and calls for her grandfather, who responds a few moments later. Frank, it turns out, is deeply concerned about the power outage, which he refers to as apocalyptic. According to him, nearly the entire western part of the United States has been affected by this mysterious blackout. He speculates that it might be linked to electromagnetic pulse attacks. Frank inquires about Reese but learns that he is already asleep. He instructs Reese to bring her father to the radio in the morning as they have limited time. Frank urges the father-daughter duo to leave their home immediately and join him in the mountains, where he has ample supplies prepared. Before ending the call, Frank directs Reese to a map and a mobile radio that will assist them on their journey. However, the radio will only function within a 5-mile radius of Frank, suggesting that he had prepared for this eventuality in the past. Reese complies, and the very next morning, she informs her father about the situation. Initially, Reese dismisses the idea of going to Frank's place, labeling him as eccentric. However, with his daughter persistently insisting, he agrees to at least give the old man a call. Shortly after, they both head to the warehouse, and Reese initiates the radio transmission. Once she leaves, Chris and Frank engage in a conversation. Initially, the elderly man proceeds to unravel the truth behind the power outage. He discloses that it's the result of an EMP, which is rapidly causing chaos and turmoil across the United States. Frank asserts that essential supplies and resources will become scarce within just 3 days, making the mountains the only safe refuge. Hearing all of this, Chris is finally persuaded, and he decides to leave immediately. After a while, Chris and Reese start packing their belongings as the situation outside deteriorates. Law enforcement and civilians clash due to the prolonged power outage. No one understands what's happening or when it will end. In the midst of this chaos, Chris and Reese get into their car and embark on their journey. Along the way, they stop at the only open supermarket in the area to stock up on supplies. However, when they witness widespread violence among people vying for basic necessities like water and food, they quickly retreat. As they leave the scene, it becomes evident that thousands of other people are also trying to escape the city. In the following scene, the father-daughter duo is forced to halt their journey on a bridge due to a serious accident blocking the highway. Tragically, a woman appears to have lost her life, and Reese witnesses this distressing event. As hours pass, tensions on the bridge escalate, and an impatient driver collides with another vehicle. This collision clears the road, prompting Chris and Reese to quickly return to their car and resume their journey. Later that night, Reese awakens to discover they have missed a crucial intersection and are headed in the wrong direction. This distracts Chris, and for a brief moment, he takes his eyes off the road. That split second proves costly as he loses control of the car and crashes it into the nearby woods. The next morning, Reese is awakened by her father, who is relieved to find her uninjured. Unfortunately, Reese has sustained a head injury and is bleeding slightly. The two decide to follow a nearby river in the hope that it will lead them to Frank's location, saving them a significant amount of time. Meanwhile, Frank becomes increasingly concerned about the duo's absence, as they were expected to arrive by morning. In the meantime, Chris struggles to walk due to his injuries, so Reese suggests they take a break. They find respite near a nearby waterfall, where they refill their water supply. While there, Reese discovers that her father has a severe bruise on his back and a deep cut on his arm. She immediately begins tending to his wounds, despite Chris insisting that he'll be alright. After some time, they resume their journey, but Chris' condition deteriorates rapidly, and he eventually collapses. Just before losing consciousness, Chris urges his daughter to seek help. Without hesitation, Reese runs through the forest and fortunately stumbles upon a barn house, where she encounters a farmer named Glenn. Seeing the distressed girl, Glenn swiftly takes action and transports Chris back to his home in his car. Sadly, despite all medical efforts, Chris does not regain consciousness and eventually ceases to breathe. Reese is devastated and heartbroken, as her sole parent has passed away.